Welcome back to the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog, where we discuss, celebrate, and honor all things college football, the traditions, the pageantry, the camaraderie, the fandom, but with a special emphasis on the black and gold squads of the Missouri Tigers and the Iowa Hawkeyes. Welcome back. I'm your host, Blair Parks. It's great to have you here on my big conference championship weekend preview episode. And I can't believe conference championship weekend is upon us. We are just a little under 24 hours away until it starts. We have 2 games tomorrow night. We have the Conference USA title game and the Pac-12 title game. Once again, it's great to be with you. Before I continue, I want to thank you for your ongoing support, your viewership. You are the ones who make this possible. I am so humbled, and I am absolutely so thankful that I am able to share my passion and my love of college football with all of you, the Black and Gold family, but all college football fans alike. I always would like you. I always am one who says, feel free. I appreciate and honor and want any likes, any shares, any subscriptions. Let's spread the news. Let's keep a good thing going. Let's spread the word to every black and gold fan near and far and every college football fan in between. So I cannot believe that once again we have reached the summit. We have climbed, we have scaled the regular season mountain, and we have now reached the summit of the regular season mountain. And as we stand there looking over the edge off in the horizon at daybreak, rising, we finally see the college football playoff field. We finally have clarity and answers to the question of who is going to make the college football playoff this season. And that time is now. By Sunday night, when the official college football playoff rankings, the final rankings are unveiled, we will have the answer to that burning question. Cannot wait for that. But also what championship week brings to me, it is a little bittersweet, but then again, it is time just to refocus, regroup, and get ready again. Because to me, it symbolizes both the end and the beginning of the college football season. It wraps up the regular season, but then it also symbolizes the beginning of bowl season. There's so much to play for, so much on the line for every team, whether it's playoff implications with a win or a loss. It's Heisman Trophy candidates who have one last chance to make that lasting impression on the voters, to have their Heisman moment, so to speak. And it's also the opportunity for players, for coaches to check off those boxes, those goals that each and every one of them make and set as a team preseason. One of those goals across the board is win your division. They have those checked off. Next one is win the conference title, and they will be playing for that. And some of them, the next goals are still in play, advancing to the college football playoff, and then the final goal for some of them, and they will have the opportunity to make it come to fruition, win a national championship. So there is big time stakes this weekend, and I am so excited for the games. And the thing I have to say before I move into this actual episode is prior to the season, and this is what has made this season unlike any other we have ever witnessed. Up until this, in the preseason, basically those who don't necessarily have the love or the passion that we have for this sport, they would say this: well, why does the regular season even matter? Why would we want to watch this movie over and over again when we know what the ending is going to be? We know that it's going to be one of the next 7 teams. And before I've said this, before recently in recent seasons past, that basically 7 teams each and every year, based on how they recruit, their prestige, their history, their impact, 7 teams, these following 7 teams will always be in a position to make the college football playoff. Those teams are Clemson, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Alabama, Georgia, Oklahoma, and sometimes it could be Oregon. Those are the teams that find themselves right out of the gate as college football playoff favorites. It comes down to the haves versus the have-nots. And furthermore, what I've said on this show to you, I've put myself out there and said, of those 6 or 7 teams, you can always count at least 3 of them will be in. The 4th comes down to the wild card team. Who is the one team that will replace the others? Years past, we've had it be LSU, we've had Washington, we've had Michigan State, but 3 out of those 7, actually really only comes down to 6. Oregon has made 1 college football appearance. So of that, I'll backtrack and say 6. 3 of those 6 teams will be in the playoffs every year, Blair, so why should we pay attention? Why put so much investment stock into college football? The college football playoff field has become vanilla. It has become predictable. It has become watered down. Basically just a beauty contest for those haves. And saying that is absolutely accurate. There is truth to that. But still, we as fans, we put so much love and passion into it. We still have to watch the movie, even though we know what the outcome is going to be. But this season, because of the season that it has been, with all of the parody, with the chaos, the rise and fall of the haves, some have-nots have got themselves on the radar, that of those 6 teams, this is what we're looking at going in to championship weekend. Right now, we have several of those who will not be participating in the college football playoff. As we look over the horizon, as the college football field rises at daybreak, Oklahoma, you're MIA. Clemson, no sign of you either. Ohio State, I guess they didn't make it either. And even Alabama. If Alabama loses on Saturday in the SEC title game, they also will not find themselves in the college football playoff. That is what I am predicting right now. So we are basically looking at 3 teams earning their first ever bid to the college football playoff. You talk about wanting fresh faces, new blood. It is absolutely going to happen this season, and it is completely welcomed. This is what we needed, and I'm so excited to see it come to its pinnacle when Sunday night, when those playoff rankings come out, and we know who is going to participate in this year's playoff field. Cannot wait. So we have up to 3 teams that potentially could make their first ever playoff appearance and crash the party, including 1 team from a non-Power 5 program, Cincinnati. But man, oh man, I am so excited. Let's go ahead and get into today's episode. To start with, what I have done, of the 10 conference title games that are on slate for this weekend, I have decided to go ahead and rank them according to me, basically the interest level that I have in them. Now, to be fair, because all of you know, you can tell by the name on my jersey, and yes, I have my game day garb and attire on. I've had this on during each and every preview episode this season. And yes, I've also worn this during every single game this year while Iowa was playing, so I'm not going to stop at this point. That you know what game right now intrigues me the most. Which game I'm going to be watching like a hawk. See what I did there? But what I've done, for the sake of this list, I have eliminated the Big Ten title game. Because that absolutely is my number one, far away in a totally different ballpark, sport level, everything. So I actually have made a list of, from 9 to 1, the games that most intrigue me, based on matchups, based on what's at stake, players, Heisman Trophy potential candidacies, playoff implications, and just the games that really I'm looking forward to watching. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get to those. Coming in at number 9, and there is no disrespect to any of these matchups or teams or conferences. This just comes down to my priority list. Coming in at number 9 is the Mountain West Championship title game between Utah State and number 19 San Diego State. I've watched a little bit of Aztec football this year. But quite frankly, this matchup's in the middle of the day on Saturday, and it just comes down to a rough draw because I'll be watching some of the other games that intrigue me a little bit more. That's number 9. Number 8 is the ACC title game between number 15 Pittsburgh, number 16 Wake Forest. This game will be played in Charlotte, and I actually really like this matchup. I think it's great to get new blood in these Power 5 conference title games, and we have a couple examples of that this season. Because Pitt and Wake Forest, these are absolutely members who have been looking up at the Clemsons of the world, the Miamis, the North Carolinas. So it's great to have two new teams face off at a chance for the ACC crown. But quite frankly, this game starts the exact same time as the Big Ten title game, so I doubt I will be watching much of this game. That's why it's number 8 on my list, but I love the quarterback matchup between Wake Forest's Sam Hartman and Pitt's Kenny Pickett. I love the matchups. Definitely going to be a good game. And all of these, by the way, have made my pick'em list, which I will get to later this episode, so stay tuned for that. Who and how I see these games coming out on the scoreboard, who is going to win, who is going to lose. Number 7 is the MAC title game between the Kent State Golden Flashes and the NIU, the Northern Illinois Huskies. This game will be played in Detroit. And this game actually intrigues me because I'm looking at from the possibility of the impossible could maybe happen. Let's say Iowa pulls off a big victory and things ahead of them collapse. Some teams ahead of them lose. There's some upsets to where then you need to look at it from a profile standpoint. And I'm getting to, earlier this season, Iowa defeated Kent State in the non-conference portion of the schedule in Iowa City. It was a very close game. Iowa, I think, was only ahead 10-6 at the half. But they did pull away in the second half. So Kent State, if they're able to take home the MAC championship crown, that absolutely boasts Iowa's profile, definitely. Because some of the other contenders for these playoff spots, you look at their schedules, I highly doubt any one of them can claim that. To where, hey, we have a straight-up head-to-head victory over a fellow conference champion. That would be hard to find. So that's why I'll be watching this game. And just the pace and space of Kent State's offense, they're quick. NIU is a little bit more ball control, run heavy. These two teams met earlier this season. I believe the score was 52-47 in a shootout. Going to be an awesome rematch to watch. Number 6 is the Sun Belt Championship game between Appalachian State. Appy State takes on number 24, the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns. This game will be played at Louisiana's home stadium in Lafayette. And what a quarterback battle we have in this matchup. Two quarterbacks that most of you do not know a single thing about. I definitely think Louisiana's quarterback, Levi Lewis, will make a roster in the NFL next season. But we have Chase Bryce, who absolutely has put up big numbers for Appalachian State. Earlier this season, this is a rematch. Earlier this season, Louisiana Lafayette really took these guys out to the woodshed. It was a absolute boat racing. But then the week following, Appalachian State rebounded well and knocked off then previously undefeated, highly ranked Coastal Carolina. So this will be a really fun matchup to watch. Hopefully I'll be able to watch some of this game, at least the majority of it, because I am interested to see how it plays out among the quarterback battle. Next game, number 5, is the Pac-12 title game. That's right. We have number 10 Oregon in a rematch against number 17 Utah in Las Vegas. These two teams played 2 weeks ago, in which was a game to forget if you're an Oregon fan, or a game to remember if you were a Utah fan. Absolute beatdown physically, Utah over Oregon. And I've been bullish on Utah all season. Preseason, I did pick Utah to win the Pac-12 title game, or win the Pac-12 crown, excuse me. Yeah, not just get there, but win it. You know, duh, a little gaffe there. But we'll see how this rematch plays out, because I don't see that game being a rewind, a deja vu game of what we saw 2 weeks ago, but we don't know. So I just want to see, how does Oregon respond? Are they better prepared for the physicality of the Utah Utes? And can Utah replicate that success they had against Oregon? And this time it will be not at their home field in Salt Lake City at elevation, in the potential cold. It'll be inside in Las Vegas. So, interesting game there, especially for Oregon, and I'll get back to them here in a little bit. Why? Number 4 on my list is the Conference USA title game. I am bullish on this game. It's the first game. I believe it's a 6 o'clock kickoff Friday evening, tomorrow night. We have Western Kentucky versus UTSA, 2 of my favorite teams this season, 2 of the best stories in all of college football. You have Bailey Zappi, the stud quarterback for Western Kentucky, a guy that I have lobbied loud and hard for. He should absolutely make the trip to New York City as a Heisman Trophy finalist with his numbers. And UTSA, the darlings this season, until last week, they were 11-0. They got knocked off by North Texas. So now they sit at 11-1. They weren't able to complete a perfect season, 12-0. But in the process of that, they were able to crack the AP and the playoff rankings for the first time in program's history. Well done, UTSA. I just can't wait to watch this matchup, because if you watched my episode yesterday, the Big Ten Championship Preview Show, which if you haven't, definitely want to watch that one. I did have a little bit of Heisman Trophy talk in that episode, because Bailey Zappi has a legitimate shot. It's going to be tough to break both the single-season passing yards record and the single-season touchdown season record with the 2 games he has left. So I'm going to absolutely be watching this game. Cannot wait for this matchup. Next game, number 3 on my list, is the Big 12 title game between number 9 Baylor and number 5 Oklahoma State. This game is all about the playoff implications. Oklahoma State is in a prime position. If they win, if they take care of the Bears, who might be a little bit beat up, Bohannon, their stud quarterback, is still recovering from a hamstring injury. Did not play last week against Texas Tech. Right now, he is still listed as day-to-day. Will he be 100%? He is a dual threat kind of guy. Oklahoma State wins. I absolutely think they will see and hear their names called as a playoff participant. So huge game there. But also for Baylor. If Baylor wins, and I think this team might be in a little bit of trouble. With Tuesday night's unveilings of the college football rankings, they actually slipped the spot down to number 9. But if they're able to win this game, they'll have two very impressive victories within the last 3 weeks of the season. One over a top 10 team at the time, Oklahoma, and then over number 5, Oklahoma State. So Baylor could absolutely find themselves in 2, but I think they will need a little bit more help because their profile, it's strong, but that loss at TCU, that definitely stings a little bit. I mean, the loss at Oklahoma State earlier this season by Baylor, not bad at all. But I think Baylor could find themselves in the 4th spot on Sunday night, but they need some help. So can't wait to watch that game because of everything that's on the line. And that's another example of having different teams face off in their conference championship game. The Big 12 this year, there is no Oklahoma. There is no Texas. There's no Iowa State. I love this about the Big 12. 2 teams that completely come off the radar to play for it all down in Arlington and Jerry World. Can't wait for this game. And also a little sidebar. If you're the Big 12, when expansion happened earlier this season, when news broke during media days about Oklahoma and Texas, your 2 biggest brands potentially moving to the SEC, then it did become truth. They are going to go there. We just don't know what season they're going to begin competition in the SEC, to where then there were questions asked, there was worries, there was anxiety about will the Big 12 even survive? But look where you are now. It's almost like poetic justice. Those 2 teams that are leaving you are not only not in your conference championship game, but they will not be partaking in the playoffs. And look who is. Oklahoma State, who's staying, could get themselves in, just like Baylor. And also you're adding Cincinnati, a Cincinnati team that comes in to this weekend ranked number 4 in the playoff rankings, and they're going to become a member of the Big 12, and they're going to potentially crash the playoff party. And then you have BYU sitting there ranked, I believe, number 12, Tuesday night, and they're going to be added to the Big 12. This is great. And also Houston. I can't forget the Cougars. The Houston's playing against Cincinnati in the AAC title game. And if they're able to knock off Cincinnati, they'll be highly ranked too. And they're going to be joining the Big 12. How good does Bob Bowlesby, the AD at the Big 12, look right now? He is absolutely jumping for joy. It is a great thing for the Big 12. I mean, how it's worked out in their favor. May the odds always be in your favor. So I had to say that before I lost that. It's awesome what's happened in the Big 12 this season. Now, number 2, the number 2 highest, most intriguing game that I'll be watching, minus the Iowa-Michigan game, the Big 10 title game. Number 2 is number 1, the SEC title game. Number 1, Georgia against number 3, Alabama. There is absolute playoff implications at stake here and Heisman Trophy implications. I've said now for weeks, and this is kind of what is believed across the nation, win or lose, Georgia is in the playoffs. How they have looked, how they've dominated, wire to wire this season. If they win or lose, they will absolutely grab a playoff bid. So the implications for them is really seeding. But Alabama they are playing for their playoff lives. And in years past, when Nick Saban and those boys have faced this sort of scenario, they've come through. But they are playing an absolute different animal this time around, to where I believe if Alabama loses, and I believe the line is 6.5 the last time I looked, which was last night, I actually think the spread should be more. Because when you look at strengths and weaknesses, absolute Georgia's defensive front 7, biggest strength of maybe anybody in college football, and Alabama's O-line has really struggled. So I think that spread should be more. But if Alabama loses, they absolutely, I think, will not make the college football playoff unless other teams ahead of them or behind them lose. So they will absolutely then be at the mercy of other teams. So Alabama has to win to get in. That's why I absolutely am intrigued by this matchup. And finally, my number one most intriguing game to watch this weekend, other than the Big Ten title game, is the American Athletic Championship game. Number 21 Houston against number 4 Cincinnati. Playoff implications absolutely for Cincinnati, and also for the group of 5. And this, we are about to see the impossible become possible. I am one of those, like many out there, who said once they went to the college football playoff format that the little guy would never have a chance ever again. And it's been that way up to this point, pretty much status quo. But if you are an alum or a fan, former player of a group of 5 team, I'm talking the Colorado States, I'm talking the South Floridas, I'm talking the Troys, I'm talking the Tulsas, I'm talking the Eastern Michigans. You are absolutely pulling for Cincinnati. They will have a huge fan base behind them, which won't only belong to Cincinnati fans. Every group of 5 fan is with you. There is so much pressure on them to win for them that I think even if they pull off the victory, they are favored by 10.5 is the spread over the Cougars. I actually believe there will be some tears shed because it will be an absolute dream come true. It is almost the equivalent because most people out there who aren't maybe college football fans, but who doesn't love the magic of March Madness, the NCAA basketball tournament. Cincinnati winning and then making the playoff field, that is the equivalent of a 16 seed knocking off a 1, which had never happened until 3 years ago, 2 tournaments ago because of the COVID cancellation. Maryland, Baltimore County knocking off Virginia. So it is the equivalent of that. Something that only is maybe once in a lifetime that we see this happen. That is why this means so much. So Cincinnati has to shoulder that pressure to break down the barriers and make the college football playoff. That is why I am so intrigued. I will be watching this game from kick to tick at the very end. There is no doubt about it. But this Houston squad, I'll give you my picks here shortly, but when is the last time we had a team reel off 11 straight wins and no one is talking about them? Coach Dana Holgorsen can absolutely use this as motivation for his team. Nobody is even talking about Houston. 11 straight victories. They lose their opening week game against Texas Tech, a game which they were up 14-0 late in the first quarter. But yeah, it's absolutely amazing how nobody is talking about Houston. And I've watched this team play. Clayton Tune and some of those boys on this team, they can flat out ball out. It is going to be a dogfight in Nippert Stadium. Cincinnati hosts this game, so we'll see what happens with it. But yeah, I think Houston is going to give them all they want and more. And the other little tidbit about this game is if Cincinnati loses, there go with that kind of a heartbreaking loss to add insult to injury. Not only will they miss out on a playoff bid, but they actually will lose the availability to even be the representative from the non-Power 5 to play in the New Year's 6. Because to qualify for that, they still could maybe be the highest ranked, but to qualify for the New Year's 6 as the representative from the non-Power 5, you have to be a conference winner, and they would not be. How poetic would that be in this season that we have seen? So everything to play for Cincinnati. And the other game I got to mention is the game to me. It's my spotlight game, is the Big Ten title game. I really previewed this game in depth during yesterday's episode. Please check it out. Like, share, subscribe, comment. is I cannot wait for this game between number 13 Iowa and number 2 Michigan. Playoff implications for Michigan, they simply win. They are in. They're a 10.5-point favorite over the Hawkeyes. And for Iowa, they're playing for a Rose Bowl bid, which that to me would be the pinnacle for them. I mean, when I look back on my life, I'm 40 years old. I've been an Iowa fan for the greater majority of my life since I was able to follow the sport, understood it, that was the pinnacle. You know, as a developmental program, I don't have astronomical expectations. I don't say you need to be 10 wins this season, be playing for a Big Ten title. That would be unrealistic and quite frankly stupid of me. We don't have a roster, full with 4- and 5-star recruits just, breaking at the seams like the Georgias and the Alabamas and the Ohio States. We don't have that. We never will. So one of the greatest experiences for me as a fan, for not just me but my whole family, was seeing Iowa get to the Rose Bowl. That would be the pinnacle for them, and that is exactly what they are playing for. I remember watching the Rose Bowl in 91, 92 with my father, my brother, so I know I will absolutely have a little bit of emotions this weekend watching this game. I am traveling up north. I tried my best to procure tickets to Indianapolis, just couldn't make it happen. But I will be amongst family and friends and my own. I am traveling north to North Liberty, just outside Iowa City. I'll be watching this big-time game in the heart of Hawkeye Nation with my brother, the guy who has kept that Iowa flame burning in me my entire life, and my father who introduced me to it. I absolutely will be thinking about him as they play for that Rose Bowl bid. Cannot wait for it. Some of my fondest memories are watching Iowa. That's always my goal every year, not just Rose Bowl, but if I can watch Iowa football on New Year's Day, I am a happy man. The New Year's holiday means a lot to people, whether it signifies to you to get down, party, you go out to your favorite establishment and celebrate accordingly. Or if you host family and friends at your house, or you travel to family or friends, you go to a party, you have a party, maybe you babysit children or grandchildren. But for me, it's football. I'm the guy who stays up, I watch the dropping of the ball, and I am quickly in bed, and I wake up New Year's Day morning, Christmas Day 2.0. I'm up, I'm giddy, I'm excited. I get the hors d'oeuvres going, the snacks. I got my favorite pregame show on, whether it's college football game day, it's Fox, it might be CBS, Big Ten Network. But that to me signifies the New Year's Day holiday, is football. So I would rather not drink myself into a stupor on New Year's Eve, because I want to be able to enjoy the games on New Year's Day. And years past, since I'm now a homeowner, we've had the luxury and the blessing to host family and friends here, and I think we're going to try to do that this season as well, because if Iowa loses this game, I highly expect them to be playing in the Citrus Bowl against a very good opponent from the SEC, probably either Texas A&M, maybe Kentucky, but we'll know about that Sunday night as well when the entire bowl lineup is announced after the playoffs in the New Year's Six. So big time. Can't wait to see this game, and there definitely will be some emotions. And yesterday, absolutely watched the preview show. I think you'll love it. A lot of good insight from the perspectives of both teams from a non-biased point of view. I tell you what you need to know if you're rooting for the black and gold or for the maize and blue. So definitely watch it. Let me know what you think. All right. Now, the updated playoff rankings entering championship weekend. I'm only going to share 11 teams with you. Let me go ahead and tell you what the top 10 is right now entering championship weekend. Number 1, Georgia. Number 2, Michigan. 3 Alabama, 4 Cincinnati, 5 Oklahoma State, 6 Notre Dame, 7 Ohio State, 8 Ole Miss, 9 Baylor, and 10 Oregon. And Iowa sits right now currently at the number 13 spot. And when I look at the playoff rankings going into championship week with all of the possible scenarios, and trust me, I've played them out. I actually wrote a lot of them down. I was kind of taking a combination of if this team wins, that team loses, this team wins, that team loses, who's in, who's out. I just started kicking around a bunch of these scenarios. I actually ended up writing down 16. I'm not going to share all of them with you. But that is where we are right now, to where this is everything that's on the line. I believe that there will be 7 teams playing for 3 spots. Because Georgia, win or lose, they're in. We have 7 teams that could find themselves in, maybe even an 8th. And that's my Iowa Hawkeyes. I kicked that scenario around yesterday on the Big Ten title game preview episode. But I think realistically, 7, maybe 8, that there's got to be a lot of chaos, a lot of what-ifs for Iowa to find themselves in the 4 hole for the playoff selection. But this season has reminded us you cannot expect or assume anything. You never know what could happen. So 7 teams for 3 spots. And those teams are Georgia, which obviously that's a misprint there. That's fake news. They're in. So the 7 teams, I've got Michigan, Alabama, Cincinnati, Oklahoma State, Notre Dame, Baylor, and Oregon. Yes, those are the teams, I think, 7 teams for 3 spots. And the most likely scenario, I'm going to share a couple of these with you, based on who wins, my projections, my forecasting, and me just having fun for shits and giggles. Pardon the S-bomb there. But this is the most likely scenario. When you look at who's favored, the trends, the betting lines, when you watch and see who most of the experts favor, more than likely it's going to be Georgia, Michigan, Cincinnati, and Oklahoma State. So that means that Alabama would have to lose to Georgia, which they are underdogs, like I said, to Georgia. Michigan beat Iowa, Cincy beat Houston, and Oklahoma State take care of Baylor. That is the most likely scenario. But then the scenario B of, let's say there's chaos happens in the SEC title game, I think then Alabama would then vault to the 1 seed over Georgia because they come into the weekend number 3. Alabama could be the 1, Michigan 2 beating Iowa, Georgia fall to the 3 hole, and then Cincinnati getting in at the 4 seed. So that is another pretty likely scenario if Alabama wins. But there's also this scenario. This could easily happen, I think, because this committee of experts, the so-called expert committee led by the boob that he is, A.D. Gary Barta, Iowa's 80, by the way, just for clarification, let you know I'm not a homer, I'm not Mr. Simpson. But another scenario that could happen: Alabama wins, they're the 1 seed, Michigan's in, Georgia, and then the winner of Oklahoma State, Baylor. So that winner of the Big 12 hops Cincinnati even if they win. That could happen. I hope it doesn't. That would absolutely suck. It would. Another scenario, Georgia, Cincinnati. So Alabama loses, Cincy wins. Let's say Michigan loses to Iowa. So that's why Cincy goes to the 2 seed. Then you have the winner of Oklahoma State or Baylor. And then 4 is Notre Dame, sneaking in the back door. They're right there, and they don't even have a coach. That's the beauty of it. Remember, Brian Kelly left them earlier this week. He bolted for LSU, which congratulations to him. It's a great move. Notre Dame fans, just relax. Breathe. The hatred that is being spewed his way. He did everything he could for your program. He maxed out at Notre Dame. He did the impossible each and every year. He was steady. He got you to 2 college football playoffs, and right now they easily could get to a 3rd, even though he's not even there. I'm sorry, Notre Dame fans, you have to come to the realization, based on your academic standards, that's a good thing. I'm not knocking that at all. I mean, we'll have this discussion some other time about the academic standards, the discrepancies between teams like Notre Dame and conferences, the Big Ten versus the SEC. Definitely a good topic for discussion in an episode in the future. But because of your academic restrictions, you're never going to win a national title. You can't get the Jimmies and Joes there. X's and O's are half of it, and Brian Kelly's a good coach. He's got the X's and O's down, but as far as Jimmy's and Joe's, it's hard to recruit there. It's just not going to happen like you can at LSU. And quite frankly, I'll say this. I said this in yesterday's episode. The last 3 coaches at LSU have won national titles. Nick Saban, Les Miles, and Ed Orgeron. And Brian Kelly is a much better X's and O's coach than Coach O or Les Miles. Absolutely. So slam dunk for LSU. Congrats, Brian Kelly. Notre Dame, the Notre Dame program and fans, you'll be fine. But, so that's another scenario that could happen. Another one is, let's say Georgia's in, the Big 12 winner, Notre Dame, and maybe Oregon. That's right. You would have to have Alabama lose, Michigan lose, Cincinnati lose. You could have Oregon still get in if they take care of Utah. They would hop most everybody in the top 10. They have the big win over Ohio State. So even Oregon could get in still, potentially, if all hell goes to hell in a handbasket. It could happen. Another one, Georgia, the Big 12 winner, Notre Dame, and then Iowa. If all those teams lose, let's say Iowa beats Michigan, Bama loses to Georgia, Cincinnati loses. I mean, Iowa could maybe even find themselves in. I mean, the Big Ten champion. I mean, it's truly amazing what could happen Saturday if one of these 2 teams either win or lose. So I cannot wait for that. I mean, that is what is on the line for Conference Championship Week. Man, can't wait. I am so excited, so stoked. Go Hawks. If you're a fan of a team that's playing, best of luck to you. I hope they get it done. But here we are. We have now reached the Pick'em segment, the Conference Championship edition of Pick'em between myself and my former co-host, Charlie, Missouri fan number 1. And rumor has it that Charlie might be joining me, possibly, not to, I can't spoil the surprise, a little cliffhanger here. He might be joining me in a couple of episodes upcoming, maybe in a special episode to preview Iowa's bowl game and Missouri's bowl game. So he might potentially be back. So right now we have the ongoing competition throughout the entire regular season and bowl season. I've got my work cut out for me. Currently, Charlie is leading me by 8 games, but I still have time to turn it around. I have not yet begun to fight, like John Paul Jones said. So let's get to Pick'em for Conference Championship Week, everybody's favorite segment. Our first game out of the chute, the Pac-12 title game, number 10 Oregon versus number 17 Utah. Charlie, he absolutely likes Utah, and we saw them flex against this Oregon squad 2 weeks ago. I'd be absolutely dumb to pick against Utah. But I think this time it's going to be a different narrative. It's a different environment inside in Las Vegas. Not going to have a home field advantage. Last week's game in the civil conflict rivalry game, it was a good response by Oregon over their in-state bitter rival, Oregon State, the Beavers. They took care of business against another physical team. I think they're going to be ready. Mario Cristobal regroups his team. He reminds them who they're playing. And I like Oregon to win this rematch. I just do. I think intangibles favor Oregon, and it is difficult. It's tough to beat the same team twice in the same season. I'm going with Oregon, so we have a disagreement there. Next game is the Big 12 title game. Number 9, Baylor versus number 5, Oklahoma State. Charlie likes Oklahoma State. It's a great pick. Their defense is so ridiculously good. Nobody talks about them. For me, the biggest concern I have in this game is Bohannon. What's his first name? You know, I knew it coming in, but I don't want to misquote myself. Let me just see. I think it's Jerry Bohannon, maybe. Let's see. What's his name? It is Jerry Bohannon. Jerry Bohannon may or may not even play for Baylor. He is an absolute playmaker, stud with his arm and his legs. But even if he plays, will he be 100% coming off a hamstring injury? That seems like a little too much of a mountain for the Bears to climb. I'm going with Oklahoma State because of that, and I think they potentially punch their ticket to the college football playoff. Next game, the MAC title game between Kent State and NIU, which we played in Detroit. Charlie, he likes Kent State, the golden flashes of pace and space. And me, I love this team. They've impressed me all season. They beat NIU the first time around. I just got done saying, though, it is difficult to beat the same team twice in a season. I think NIU is more physical. They will slow them down. But I think right now Kent State is firing on all cylinders. We both like Kent State to bring home the MAC title. Next game is Utah State versus San Diego State. And this is the Mountain West title game. I believe this game will be played in San Diego. Actually, I think they're playing right now in LA because of some construction to their new stadium. So, how we see this game going? Charlie, he likes San Diego State. He likes the Aztecs. Me, I've been picking against San Diego State all year. I've been burned time and time again. And if I ended up losing by 2 or 3 games to Charlie, a lot of it, the finger can be directly pointed at the Aztecs. But I think they're just too much. I think they're a better team. I like San Diego State as well to win the Mountain West. Next game up is the Sun Belt title game between Appalachian State and the Louisiana, the Ragin' Cajuns. This game is at Lafayette, hosted by Louisiana. Charlie, he likes Appalachian State. Bryce, Young, their quarterback, stud. I mean, I definitely think he could be a game changer. Chase Bryce. Me, even though I think Louisiana is a little bit more battle-tested, I absolutely like Appalachian State too. I think they get it done. So we both like the Mountaineers to take home the Sun Belt title. Next game, the SEC title game. Number 1 Georgia versus number 3 Alabama. Let me get a quick swig of water here. Charlie, he's going with the Bulldogs. Just thinks they're too much. And it's hard they have looked impenetrable all season. Me, I think Alabama will give them a game early. I think quarterback Bryce Young, this is his shining moment to clinch the Heisman Trophy. But I don't think it's going to happen. I think the struggles of Alabama up front on their offensive line are legitimate. I think the Dogs will feast on that. And they have had trouble scoring the ball recently. I like Georgia by at least 2 possessions, and that then puts to bed Alabama's playoff hopes. So we both like the Bulldogs over Alabama. Next game is the AAC, the American Athletic title game between number 21 Houston and number 4 Cincinnati. Charlie, he likes Cincinnati. It's been a miracle season. He doesn't see it ending now. When you have one more obstacle to climb. Me, on the other hand, I am very weary and worried for Cincinnati. That here they are at the precipice of crashing the playoff party, something we didn't think could ever happen, getting a seat at the big boy table, and Houston coming in way under the radar, even after winning 11 straight. Could this happen? This game's played at Cincinnati's home field in Cincinnati. But I can't go against Cincinnati because I am pulling for them like most of this nation is, unless you need them to lose to get your team in, and then I understand. But there is no way. There's no way I'm picking against Cincinnati. I want them in. I want history to be made. I want to someday tell my grandchildren and my children to remind them I was there. I saw the improbable, the impossible happen. I'm going with Cincinnati as well. There's no way I'm going against them. No way. Next game up is the ACC title game between number 15 Pitt and number 16 Wake Forest. Charlie, he likes Pitt. I think there's lots of offense during this game. We've seen Sam Hartman and the Demon Deacons put up points aplenty, but it comes down to their defense. Their defense has been exposed at times. Pitt's offense, just as good, but their defense is a little bit more solid and tough. I think that's the difference. They're able to dictate pace of play. I like Pitt to get it done, but in a very, very close game and competitive game. Next game up is the Conference USA title game between Western Kentucky and UTSA, the Roadrunners, maybe Hilltoppers versus Roadrunners. Let's see what Charlie likes in this game. He likes UTSA. They have a stud running back in Sincere McCormick, stud, but also on my all-name team. Defense is solid. They've answered the bell all year, other than last week. I think Jeff Traylor, coach who was in a lot of conversations to move on to a bigger job, he has recently been wrapped up. He signed a 10-year extension, staying in San Antonio. So this is a big-time game. Will they be able, and this is a rematch. These two teams met earlier this season, and UTSA did win. This is prior to Western Kentucky's 7-game win streak that they're currently on. Earlier this season, the final score in this game, and it was a high-scoring game. I'm looking it up right now. It was 52-46. Bailey Zappi grooving. I like the Hilltoppers. I am completely on the Bailey Zappi, get him to NYC, Heisman presidency. I'm not also a member. I'm also the president. I like Western Kentucky, so we have a disagreement there, Charlie and I. And we have a bonus pick this week. It is not a conference title game, but it is a makeup game, the only game that was canceled and rescheduled this season due to COVID-19. We have a regular season game in the Pac-12, Cal versus USC. It's at Cal Berkeley. Charlie, in this game, he likes the Bears. It's a good pick. They've had a better season. I think just the news, the breaking news this week of Lincoln Riley being hired at USC will be a shot in the arm. It'll bring them back to life. I definitely think he'll be there. He'll be watching, meeting some of the staff that he might retain, introducing himself to some of the players who are staying, or maybe potentially some of the players who might leave. So I think this is going to be a great game. I like USC to pull the upset. So we have another disagreement. And now, the final pick'em game of the week. My spotlight game, it has to be the game of games. We have the Big Ten title game between number 2 Michigan and our number 13 Iowa Hawkeyes being played in Indianapolis. Michigan, 10.5-point favorite. They are a better team. Can they get it done? Will they be able to check off another checklist item, advance to the college football playoff, while also checking off a Big Ten title? Great comeback season for Jim Harbaugh. But the big intangible, and we've seen this time and time again, especially this season, after such a big-time victory, is he able to get his boys grounded? Are his players going to come out focused, regrouped, motivated, or will they have a little bit of a letdown because of that big win over Ohio State. I mean, due to Iowa's offensive struggles, I mean, Michigan could have a letdown game and still win by 10 or 11 points. They still could probably cover. So that's what it comes down to. What can Iowa do? Can they slow down those stud defensive ends? Can they do a good job to hold the line of scrimmage? That's where this game is going to be won and lost. That's been Iowa's biggest weakness, and on the offensive side is line play. It could get real ugly really fast for Iowa. But I have picked against Iowa 3 times this season. I picked against them week 2 at Iowa State, week 5 again at Maryland, and even last week I picked on the Black Friday game, I picked against them at Nebraska. And those 3 times they've won. So this game, there's no way, even though I do want to pick Michigan, that's right, I'm picking Iowa to win. There is no way I can pick against our Hawkeyes. I know I'm going to probably regret it. Never on this show. This might be the first time that I'm letting my fandom dictate my course of action. But if I was to pick Michigan, also, what kind of fan would I be? So I am absolutely picking the black and gold to pull a big upset, get to the Rose Bowl, and who knows, maybe even more. But I can't wait to watch this game with you, my brother, my sister-in-law, my nephew. I cannot wait. I just want to say once again, thank you for everything, your time, your support. It's an absolute blessing to share this with you. Please, like, share, subscribe, comment. Make sure to enjoy the football this weekend. Enjoy the rest of this week and your weekend, no matter what you do. I will be back next week, probably Tuesday. That'll be my championship weekend reaction and review. But also, we'll look at the college football rankings. We'll know who's in the playoffs, and we'll also know the entire bowl schedule. So we'll definitely talk about that. So good luck to your teams if they're in this weekend. Best of luck. Bring home the hardware. Bring it home. Make us proud. Until next week, thank you for joining me on this episode of the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog. And I'll see you next week. Peace, love, prosperity. Go Hawks. See you then.